That's the sound of the man clapping that thing. Dang. Yo, in my hood, we was taught not to say who shot you. See the flash, you heard the shot, you feel it burning, I got you. Say a prayer for me if you care for me, cause I'm on the edge.
Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Mama tryna save me, but she don't know I'm tryna save her. Man, them niggas tried to play me. Man, until I got the staple, you don't know.
Thanks for joining me.
Sir, brother.
In this documentary. We know it's very, it's a special documentary, and everybody goes through these, and everybody, when they get shot, when people on the outside see people get shot, they think of it to be a game, or it's a button, or rest in peace shirts and all that. But we actually get to live and talk about our experience. So one of the first things I want to ask you is, say your name and your experience through this whole thing.
David. Obviously, I'm a youth worker. I've been working for the city for almost 12 years now. And based on that night, pretty much it was like a Black Engineers Convention or whatever. So I had a few of my high school kids going down there or whatever. So once it's over, I heard it was a little after party, and it was like a commotion out there. So I pretty much went to go check on my kids. So I was in a hotel lobby, but the Black Engineers Convention was in the South in a hotel.
Yeah.
And I guess it was an after party, but I heard there was some commotion going on there because I got some friends that live in that area who drove by and said there was some stuff going on there or whatever. So long story short, I went in the lobby for my kids, and then just some guy just randomly came up to me and was like, where you from? And I just looked at him up and down, like, what do you mean where I'm from?
Yeah.
Like, I don't got no problems with the body. You don't need to come up to me where it's from. So it started getting a little bit more tense. One of his other friends came, and I had a few of my friends with me. So my friends, pretty much told me, like, dude, like, ain't nobody here from no
block.
Area, no block. We're here at a Black Engineers Convention. Like, who's gonna gangbang at a Black Engineers Convention at the Copley Hotel or at the Hyatt Hotel?
It wasn't a place for it.
Right, it wasn't a place for that. And I guess he said some neighborhood that I don't remember, that I'm not even from. I'm from the Boston. I don't claim no neighborhood, I'm just from Boston. So long story short, he put his finger in my face, so I smacked his finger away. That led to an altercation or whatever. I got the better of him. Pretty much I was protecting myself. I wasn't even trying to fight. I was trying to avoid, even my friend was trying to avoid the situation. But he kept pushing the buttons, and then finally, he put his hand on my face, like I said before, and I smacked his hand away. And then, we got into altercation. I got the better of him, but at the same time, it was more like me protecting myself.
Yeah.
So at the time when the situation happened, when me and his friend got into it, he was on the floor, and then I noticed his friend reaching for his pocket. So my first instinct was not to run, because I didn't want to run and get hit in the back.
Yeah.
So my first instinct was to go after, try to at least hit the gun out the way. So as I was doing that, I pushed the gun down and started shooting. I don't know if the gun ricocheted and hit me, but I know it hit me. But I feel like if I would have ran and hit me in the back.
You'd been paralyzed.
Right, yeah. So my friend, whatever, all that commotion's going on, boom, boom, boom. I'm shocked. My boy's like, yo, you got hit. I don't feel it right away. You know what I mean? I don't feel it. So
you don't know.
I don't, but I feel something dripping down my pants. So I'm like, so I reach down, I'm take my belt off. When I take it off, loosen it. I go down and I can tell, oh, my man's like, you hit. So it looks like a bench near the hotel, right outside the hotel, like where they do the valet and stuff. So I sat down. My man's like, yo, chill, just chill. And I'm, he's telling me to calm down. The ambulance come, whatever. They throw me the ambulance. They cut my pants off, cutting my shirt off, make sure I didn't get no hit in the area or whatever. And I was starting to get lightheaded.
So I pull up, it was like July 9th, around 11 o'clock. I pull in, and there was a car parked right about right here. So I don't know if he was hiding behind the car, but the car was parked right here. I came from I pulled in, so I don't know if he was parked right here, but when I looked across the street, I didn't see nobody. You know what I'm saying? So I pulled into my driveway. I hung up the phone. I was on the phone. I hung up the phone. I was gonna grab a tow I had in the back of the car, but I said, forget, I'll get it in the morning. So I get to my driveway. Get out my driveway, and I go to the door to walk to my stairway. Move up from there, all the way down. So it's like a good 10 to 50-second run. I don't even think it's that long. So he's like, empty your pockets. I look at him like he was crazy. You know what I'm saying? So then I'm like, you're gonna have to bust me tonight. So he shoots me. So a shot goes off. So this is it right here. So a shot goes off, but I don't even know if I'm shot. So after he shoots me, I'll show y'all right there.
Hi, my name is Samantha Isabel Wright Calero. I'm the Executive Director of the Youth Advocacy Foundation. But for the past 10 years, I was a youth worker who specifically focused on community organizing around education justice, but also trauma response to homicide and violence intervention. Lifting up marginalized young people to become more empowered and take charge of the issues that are most impacting them is something that I'm incredibly passionate about. My work today is really about shutting down the school to prison pipeline, but for about 5 years before that I was working at Brigham and Women's Hospital managing a team of advocates for patients and families that were brought into the hospital for gunshot or stab wounds. So it's a shift for me, but I feel like my work today is building off of my past experiences to really attack some of the root causes that I see for why some people get victimized in certain ways, why some people are more at risk for perpetration of violence, and how that is in and of itself a mechanism for segregating and oppressing some people more than others.
After he shoots me, we have like a stare off. But then I walk closer to him, he starts backing up closer to where the light is. So the light comes on. When the light comes on, he pulls out another gun on me. So I'm like, you know when people say like your life flashes right before your eyes, so everything started going through my mind. Like, my main thing was like I didn't want to be found dead in my driveway. So it was like fight or flight. So we had to stare off for a little bit. Then my brother opened the door right there. So after that I went blank because I don't know if I walked over and went to the house or he ran off, but he ended up taking off. So that's why I told my brother to call the EMS. The police ended up coming with the EMS. First thing they asked me was like, where the guns and drugs at? I'm looking at this dude like, all right, are you serious? He's like, where the guns and drugs at? Are you licensed to carry? I said, am I the victim or am I a suspect? Like, why you keep asking me about the guns and drugs? So, make a long story short, they end up taking me to the hospital. So when we get to the hospital, they asked if I want any pain medication or morphine. I'm like, nah, I want to be coherent. We asked me questions. So as they asked me questions they kept asking me the same questions over and over again. So I looked at him and said to him, like, maybe if y'all did old school detective work and not rely on people snitching on each other, y'all be able to catch the person who did this to me. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I pay a mortgage on my house. Like, I don't sell drugs, I don't rob anybody, I don't do anything wrong to anybody. So in the midst of all that, he comes back to me like, yo, do you give permission or consent to search your house? So I'm like, I already know what time it was, because if I don't give you consent to search my house, the next day I guarantee you that is going to be like, you get a judge to sign off on a warrant to search my house. What's different about when you prepare for a funeral with a person who died of natural causes versus somebody who's been street-lifed or murdered by the hands of the street?
Now, is the person who passed away natural causes, are they a member of the church?
A member of the church or a regular citizen?
Okay. A person that passes away from natural causes, first of all, the funeral is the celebration of the deceased person's life. That's what I'm thinking from the beginning. It's a celebration of their life. And so I first meet with the family and get all the information that I can about this person, when they were born, where were they born, what career, were they a military person, were they a part of a church. It always helps me if I know the person personally. Like when I do funerals for members of New Hope, I know them. And so that personal touch helps me. But I try to, and of course I'm praying about it to see what text God would have me to share during that service. But it's always to celebrate the deceased life and to encourage the family who's left behind, because there's a void in their life and they're going to need encouragement and prayer and scripture, the word of God, to help them get through that trying time. Now, a person who experienced a violent death, maybe somebody who was out in the streets, same thing. We want to celebrate their life. The same with a person who may have died from a violent type of death, person who was out there, and same thing applies. It's about celebrating their life because they had a life too, and God loved them. And you never know what was going on in their life in their final moments. You have characters in the Bible who were rascals, but God dealt with them in a moment and changed their life. So there's only one judge.
Well, somebody from the news came and was like, hey, what's going on? Who did this to me? I said, I have no idea who did this to me. What's going on? Just get me to the hospital and then they asked for my name and all that stuff. And I really didn't give up my name.
Did you feel the news was invasive?
Yeah. I mean, at that time, you're not asking the person who just got shot who did it and why did you get shot? Like, that's just dumb. Like, I'm here, like I said, I'm at the Black Engineers Convention. I'm over here trying to check on my youth from where I work at.
But did they make you feel like a criminal when they kept pushing
They didn't ask me dumb questions, but I felt like it was the wrong time. They didn't make me feel like a criminal, but at the same time, you don't ask me who did this. Like, that was kind of a dumb question just so I can give you media. You want some media to be able to tell some of the news, you know, somebody was shot and this and that. So that's why I didn't really respond to them like they wanted me to, you know what I mean? So
as far as media, they completely violated as far as the media. They came, after I got shot, the media was staking. I woke up in the morning, looked in the window, and it was like about 4 or 5 news cameras, cars, everything, waiting to ask me the question. Then after that, I waited till they left. That night, it was all over the news, which my plate number was shown in my driveway, my address was shown on the news, and also was in the local paper. And I mean, I don't know what should I do, but it's just a violation of that happening.
Police in Billerica are looking for the would-be robber who shot a man in the driveway of his own home. They say the victim was returning home from work when that happened.
Overnight, the search is underway for a gunman involved in a robbery in Billerica. Police tell us a man is hospitalized with a gunshot wound to his leg. The victim was shot while he was in his driveway. The suspect managed to run off, setting off a large manhunt in that area. This all happening right after 11 o'clock last night. Police are still searching for the suspect.
The whole street right here is full of news cameras. Remember I was telling y'all about the whole news cameras right there. And then so we had to block our windows, a whole bunch of news cameras right there. They ended up taping my driveway, my address and everything out here. So it was like I felt completely violated. And that's what another thing, so I spent the whole day in the house just thinking. I'll show y'all the bullet holes and everything, how it transpired. So he was right, when I pulled up in the driveway right here, he must have ran around the car. So I was about, let me see the blood stain, I probably washed out. But here's a bullet, here's one of the bullets right there that went in right here. So he was about, I think it was probably the blood stain's probably right there. But we were this close, and this is when he had pulled a gun on, like he's like, empty your pockets. I'm like, you're gonna have to bust me tonight. So when the shot rang off, I kind of just looked at him, he looked at me, but I was trying the whole time trying to read, and see, cause he had a half a mask on, a jacket, and a hoodie on. So I'm trying to read who is it? Like, am I being set up? Is this a random act? Like, is it gonna be a home invasion? All that's running through my mind. But then I went closer to him, that's when he pulled the second gun out, and that's when that light came on right there. And then we had like probably I want to say like a 10 to 15 second, probably even 20 seconds. I don't know how long it was of a stare off. Like I said, that's when my whole religious, I was supposed to probably been dead, because like with 2 barrels in front of your face, like now you don't feel like He-Man or nothing like that. I mean, you don't know what to expect. It also builds character. Like you get to see who you really are. I mean, it's not to be a tough guy or nothing. It's like it's how you ready to die, or is it all about pride, or whatever the case may be. Like everybody's not built that same way. So this is how everything had transpired. So the bullet holes, the blood stains, and this is when he had opened the door and I walked over there.
Right behind me is my grandmother's home. I came out like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, May 24th. She was bent over, actually planting flowers in the garden, and I walked over here to sit in the actual vehicle that my friend was waiting for me in, and the car pulled up. On the side of us, the guy got out the passenger seat of that car, came around behind it, and shot through the actual car.
Known rapper is recovering this afternoon after being shot several times at a recording studio.
West Coast rapper YG is expected to survive.
The 25-year-old, originally out of Compton, is recovering, according to management, who say he was shot 3 times. LAPD says there's no one in custody and called the victim uncooperative.
June 12th. Nah, I mean, little incident happened. It was real like weird and unexpected, but I got shot in my hip and I'm all right. I'm still here, you feel me? And it was not gang related at all.
And you got shot 3 times?
No, I got shot 1 time. It's three bullet holes, because it went in, went out, and then went back in somewhere else.
I'd read there was a fight before the shots were fired.
Nah, I've been working on my album. That's what I was doing before. I don't know who shot me. It wasn't gang related, and it don't matter. I'm still here. I got hit in the hip. I got lucky. I left the hospital the same night. The next day, I went to the studio. Ain't nobody want me to go though. Like my mom and them telling me like, nah, you need to. I'm like, nah. Going to the studio. I got shit to do.
Bitch, you broke. Shut up. Don't talk to me. Get your bread up. And we used to fuck, but I got fed up.
The album title, I'm gonna give you the album title right now, you feel me? The album is called Still Crazy. That's the name of the second album. The follow-up LP2, Still Crazy. My Crazy Life, Still Crazy, you feel me? I just got hit and the album was still crazy before that. It's a lot of artists that drop their albums and they wait 2, 3, 4 years to come again. I'm coming. I'm writing about, you feel me, my life, my lifestyle. I was writing about that on the last album. It's different concepts, it's new production. I got better, and everything around me, my situation got better, my rollout gonna be better, my videos is gonna be better, so it's different, but it's still, it's YG. I ain't dropping an album you gonna feel like, oh, he went too left, he switched it up. Like, it's a good follow-up album, you feel me? When the people listen to it, I just want them to have fun and just relate and just know that you feel me, I'm a regular motherfucker just like you, and I've been through real shit, and I still go through real shit, and I made it out of like sticky situations, you feel me? Turned the negative into a positive.
But other than that, I went to the hospital. My mother, my dad was there, and me thinking about it, I'm just turning red. My moms came, all the family came, the friends came, like, even in me not being in the gang, like, these things happen, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, so you don't have to be in the street for those things to happen.
Right, correct. So, but I mean, it takes a situation like this, you can either be scared, be mad, or be depressed about it. And at that time, I was younger, and I was in my young adult years, and I was just mad.
As far as mentally, after being shot, there's a lot of things you go through emotionally. There's a cycle. For example, it's like the whole trust thing. Like, you don't know who did it to you, so you really don't trust anybody. So it's like, after you've been shot, your adrenaline is all done. You start playing every possible event in your mind, thinking you don't know who did it. So you're wondering who did it, who would you speak to, where your whereabouts was, and you just start running the list through your mind. And next thing is also mentally, everybody, in my case it's different because the dude had a mask on, so everybody becomes a prime suspect. As soon as I have an interaction with somebody that fits the description of the person, automatically I think that person is a suspect. So it's like, and as everybody I've spoken to said it takes a while for you to get out that mode. Also mentally, like I just move different now. Like when I come home, I time myself before I get in the house. And also made me become a savage also too, because after being shot, I felt like I was invincible. I felt like I took one, like I felt like the people I idolized, like the 50 Cents and anybody else who got shot. So as far as mentally, I don't think I'm even near recovering yet, but it's a process. And this is why I'm doing this documentary, kind of a way for me to cope and also for me to kind of talk to other people and see what they're going through.
Mentally, I was more wary of my surroundings. I didn't trust nobody. If you didn't have my mom's or my dad's last name, I didn't trust you. You know what I'm saying? So I was more wary. I was like, to me, everybody was a suspect. Everybody to me has something to do with it. So it's like I said, you can either take it as you're gonna be scared, you're gonna do something about it. And you know, and at that time I had my daughter. I didn't have my son yet. I had my daughter, so it's like me trying to retaliate. I'm gonna lose my job. You know what I mean? My daughter ain't gonna see me. She's gonna see me behind bars, and it's like it ain't worth it. You know what I mean? But still at the same time, you're like, I can sit here and tell you I'm gonna be fine, but if I see the dude face to face, at that time, you're gonna react. I can tell you right now, hey man, everything's gonna be good, everything's gonna be good. But in reality, once you see the person, your whole state of mind changes.
Yeah,
you're ready to just do whatever you want. You want him to feel the pain you felt and your family felt. You know what I mean?
And it's just real. Like
it's real, man. Like it took me a few years to get over it. Honestly, you know what I'm saying? Me taking a shower, I got the gauze here. You know, at the time, my daughter's mother was changing everything for me, and you know, seeing my mother, like I didn't want my mom to worry because my mom's nerves is bad, and she's a Christian lady, and she's heavily involved in my life still to this day. So just to see her face, it gave me anger. I wasn't scared, but it just gave me anger. Like anybody was a suspect to me. Like anybody, like if I see anybody, who's this dude? Who's that dude? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, if you didn't have my mom's or my dad's last name, I didn't trust you.
Is it a physical feeling?
Yeah, it doesn't hurt as much as people imagine it hurts because of your adrenaline and how the shock of what's actually going on. It hurts after.
Did you feel the first one or the ninth one?
I don't even know. I didn't know my legs were broke.
Really?
When I tried to get out the car at the hospital, both of my legs were broke. Like I broke in 3 places on this side and then.
Where were you shot?
In my hands, my legs several times, like 5 times in my hands, and then in my legs, and then in my face. Yeah, so when going through that experience, when you get hurt that bad, either your fear consumes you or you become a bit insensitive. Mm-hmm. So just after...
Which one was it for you?
There was a point that I was afraid.
Afraid?
Yeah, following that, actually being shot, I was afraid because everybody involved in the situation was still physically available to
shoot
just
you again.
Go to part 2.
Yes.
Yeah, to just do it again. And then it was like, I got tired of, in the recovery process, I got tired of being afraid. Mm-hmm. And then the only way that I could, to cover those emotions were to be a little more aggressive.
And insensitive.
Yeah, and to be angry about the situation opposed to dealing with how I was actually feeling at that point. And
how were you actually feeling?
The physical part hurt, and there was confusion because
you hurt afterwards. You don't hurt for the immediate.
Yeah, after you know you're gonna be fine, it really starts hurting. You know what I mean? Like the doctor tells you you're good, then it's just really bones aching. You feel like you got a headache in your hip, middle of your body, and then it's like, I know I'm gonna be fine, but it hurts so bad.
Did you ever find out who did it?
Yeah, I knew who did it shortly after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are now where?
Oh, the guy who actually shot me is dead. And the guy who paid him got life in jail.
Got life in jail.
Yeah.
I come from the streets. I got trust issues for a reason, or for plenty of reasons. Like, I don't know who shot. Trust nobody. It's fucked up. Now I got hit though, my pops be trying to tell me, like, my mom be trying to tell me more stuff and all that. What they be saying be real though. It be real, it's just sometimes, you know, you don't want to hear it. You want to live your life.
Y'all know niggas ain't fucking with me.
I'm me, feel me? I'm the same person I was before I got some money. I think about stuff a little different now, you feel me? But I'm the same person, like, you can catch me on the block, in the hood. I don't know when that's gonna change. Yeah, I don't know. I love the streets though, real talk. I really love the streets. You feel me? The streets made me who I am. Compton though, Compton very dangerous. Like my mama didn't move me away from Compton, tried to keep me away, but you feel me? I did my thing. I found my way back to the city and shit. It's dangerous, a lot of fucked up shit happened, but it's, you feel me? A lot of good moments, a lot of fun times, a lot of fucked up times. I look at the things I was doing before the rap shit got real serious. Robbing, breaking houses, doing all that type of shit. And that's what was going on at the time. It was nothing else. I ain't got a high school diploma. My parents ain't rich. You feel me? So it's like, what am I gonna be? I would have been in the streets, to be honest with you. This music shit saved my life. It saved my family life. It saved some of my homies' life. It's real.
So, you know, I think I've seen it in a number of different ways. I think I've never had this experience personally, but with the people that I've had the honor of working with, getting shot is one of the most traumatic things that a person can go through. And oftentimes that is not their only experience of survival or trauma that they've had in their lifetimes. So it's betrayal on top of betrayal on top of betrayal. And I think the truth is a lot of our institutions and safety nets are not constructed in a way that is most responsive to those folks' recovery and healing and seeking of justice. So first of all, you know, having a life-threatening experience of trauma is a betrayal of trust, I think, flat out. And then one thing that is called in emergency medicine or trauma medicine is sort of the second trauma. When a lot of patients come into the hospital for a penetrating injury, instead of sometimes getting met with social workers and chaplains and a support network, a lot of times they get confronted by police and security, and there's this automatic assumption that you must be a gangbanger, you must have been selling drugs, and the underlying question around a lot of the interventions is, how is this somehow your fault? How is it your fault that you got shot or you got hurt? And that creates, I think, an institutional mistrust with this patient population. You know, the Boston police, they have their mandate, the DAs, they have their mandate to find the perpetrator and arrest them and charge them. But I think there's an embedded sort of adversarial relationship between survivors and those city and state agencies of figuring out what that looks like. And one group, I think, oftentimes defines what justice looks like without necessarily taking into account what survivors would like it to be, or offering more options than just the obvious arrest, charge, throw in jail. And so that's kind of a systems level mistrust that gets bred. From a statistical perspective or public health perspective, you know, if you get shot, your chance of getting shot again in the next couple years goes up by 50%. At face value, that seems crazy, but a lot of it has to do with these cycles of retaliation and the trauma that people experience, not just in their own personal lives, but at the community level. And I think that's reflective of the need for better services and support networks for folks that are going through it. And the other big piece that I don't think we talk often enough about is that if you're a victim of violence, it's also likely that if you're not going to get victimized again, you're going to perpetrate. And it's sort of this vicious cycle that I remember very clearly. I was working in Mission Hill with this young kid, Mike, really smart guy. He got mistaken for somebody else walking outside of his high school one day, and he got shot. He was 15 years old. He was an honor student, doing great, and after that, his trajectory just went through the floor. And after he came back to school, shortly thereafter, he was arrested with an illegal firearm. And when his grandmother went to ask him why, like, you know how bad guns are, he was like, you know, Grandma, I'm never gonna let them do that to me again. And so when we reframe the issue of carrying a weapon around seeking safety or making safety because you feel so completely unsafe and unsupported, I think that creates another set of needs or questions of how we could, you know, address that young man's problem rather than having him get a felony charge and go into DYS, and then the prospects for what is possible for him when he gets home becomes so much more limited. And that's somewhat about him, but that's also so much more about the environment that is shaping him and developing him into an adult. And that, I think, happens day in and day out for so many different young people in very different ways.
So Nia, did you ever find out who it was? Or?
Yeah, I ended up finding, long story short, one of my friends was around that area, and he told me who the guy was. He told me who the guy was, his full name, and we lived there, but I didn't know what he looked like. I knew the full name, I knew the street name, the home address, I knew all that stuff, but still I didn't know what he looked like, so I was still wary. And later on, I ended up finding out who he was. Somebody showed me a picture. That was like, D, man, and the dude who showed me the picture was actually from his neighborhood. Because the dude who shot me was cool. I played basketball with all of them. So when they found out, hold on, D, this dude did this to you? You? That's the one they were talking about? And everybody was like, D, we messed with me. People in his own neighborhood was like, D, we messed with you. This is where he live at. This is what he looked like. This is his girlfriend. But I'm not thinking about
hurting anybody else.
Hurting nobody. But like I told you, if at that time when I was younger, something would have happened. You know, because my state of mind and me being angry, like I told you, like I said, I can tell you right now that I'm not going to do something, but if you see him, it's a whole different story.
So did you ever end up making amends with dude, or?
No. So, you know, a friend of mine, like I said, a friend of mine I told you earlier, that told me who he was, he sent my friend a message. And was like, yo, because his neighborhood, the guys from my neighborhood, his neighborhood were cool. So they all was cool. They know each other, they hung out with each other. So when they found out it was me, the guy was like, oh, hold on, I didn't know that was a guy from your neighborhood, and this and that, and everything changed. Everything changed, I don't want no problems. My friend of mine, about 10 years, this happened about 10, 9 years ago, he sent me the voice message. And he said, D, this is homeboy, and he sent me the message, I'm gonna forward to you, saying he don't want no problems, he don't want this and that, or whatever. And the guy even asked me to go out to eat. Through another mutual friend that I trust, that I know he won't do me wrong because we grew up, that's like my brother. And he's like, D, man, he wants to go out to dinner, he wants to squash it. I'm like, I'm not about to go out to dinner when nobody did that to me. Because he's gonna have a plate of food in his face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's how I thought back then. Like wasn't really involved in the streets like that. But when this thing, you gotta go through this to understand what I was feeling. I can't sit here and be like, yeah, watch TV. It's not the same thing when you see on TV, man. Like when you get hit, it ain't no joke, man. Cause like
I was chilling at the spot I was recording my album. I see like a black truck inside the gate, and I see like some niggas outside the truck. I ain't know these dudes. He like, oh no, man, I've been living here for 7 years and shit, like, why? And the spot we was in, they ain't been built for 7 years. I knew that, so in my head, I'm like, all right, red flag, bam. The red flag I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I'm sitting on the couch, I hear him tussling. So I go hit the stairs, and I'm like, damn, the niggas had a homie, 2 pistols to his head, you feel me? At the door.
Okay.
You feel me? Trying to run up in the door.
Yeah.
So, as soon as we hit outside, they start boom, 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 sparking. I fall back in the crib, I'm shot. You feel me? I'm over there. I'm hit, I'm trying, this nigga shot me. This nigga, then you just hear more shots. Mac.
Now you shot.
I'm shot. I'm running up downstairs.
Wow.
I see the hoe, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I gotta go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Fight.
Yeah.
We go hop in my car, black ass tent, tinted up, everybody adrenaline pumping though, like it's like a lot going on.
Yeah.
So the homie I'm on, he going like 80, 90.
Yeah.
So you really can't see. I'm in the front, homie in the back, like, hey, nigga, it's an island right there. Like, watch out for the island. I see the island at the last minute, you feel me? The homie smack the island, fly in the air, Mac hit the ground, smack. Then it's parkour, ran to the court, Mac. Then it was like 2 seconds, it was just like, it was quiet.
So we're celebrating the deceased person's life. You're encouraging and trying to bring comfort and healing to the family who remains, and also friends who might be there, especially if a young person passed away from a violent death. There are other young people there. So that gives me an opportunity to try to say something to them impactful that will get their attention and let them know that death is real. Because sometimes young people, they tend not to think about death, that can't happen to me. But when they see it, reality hits them in the face, and they're right there. They see that young people can die. And so try to encourage them to make some new decisions, better decisions in their life, perhaps doing better in school, looking at college, considering joining a good, solid Bible church, a loving church. And I've been able to reach some people. You may not reach everybody, and that's okay, but if I could just reach one person, then I see it as a success. I see it as a win. And so, but I try not to use difference when I'm eulogizing or funeralizing a person who had passed away from natural causes, or a person who has passed away from a violent, tragic death, because they're no longer here. So there's no need of mentioning all of the bad things all of us have done some good things in our life. And all of us have done some bad things we're not too happy of. So no, I want to celebrate their life, thank God for the years that He did give them, and try to encourage the remaining family that God did not choose to take you. So that means He's not finished with you. He has some more work that He wants to do in your life. And so, I'm realistic about grieving. I don't tell people not to cry. No, cry, grieve. Some people need counseling, depending on the relationship that they had with the deceased. And so sometimes I recommend counseling, and I'm always available for prayer and for Bible counseling and things of that nature. And grieving takes time. It takes time, which is very important in the life of people who have suffered, especially tragic deaths. They need to know that they can grieve. There's a passage in the Bible, in the Psalm, I believe it's Psalm 30, and it says, weeping may endure for a night, and a night can be a season. It could be days, months, a year, but joy comes in the morning. And people do heal from tragic situations like death. They do heal, they do get better. They are able to eventually move on with their lives. And that's what it's all about. So no, I try not to put a difference, although I may approach it differently, but it's always about celebrating the life of the deceased and comforting and encouraging the family and friends who remain.
As far as faith or religion, it's either I feel like it can make you or break you when you get shot. Because you ask yourself, why me? Why did I get shot? Why did God pick me to get shot? So it's like, in my case, I think my faith has gotten stronger in God because I pray more often. I'm more thankful to God. But other people could be like, you know what? Forget that. I don't need God. God got me shot, so let me just do what I gotta do as far as religious beliefs. Because now, if God loved me, why would I be stuck, or why would I get shot in this predicament? Like it's just crazy how we are conditioned to, as soon as we get shot, to that's either we call for our mothers or call for a higher faith. So in my case, like I said again, my faith is much more stronger in God. So as far as your religious faith, did that increase your religious faith or decrease your religious faith?
You know what? Me growing up with my mother being in church, I always believed in God. I mean, I did pray more, I prayed for me and I prayed for him, because me being what I went through, I don't wish that on nobody else. But the fact that I felt like if I would have seen this guy, and he wasn't the biggest guy in the world, so I know if I would have caught him, it would have been issues, man. But a couple years, it's happened about 9 years ago, and I guess the police killed him about three or 4 years ago, or something like that. But I mean, it took me a few years to kind of get over everything.
Yeah, so any advice you would give somebody who's been shot before, like as far as trauma, everybody being a suspect, your circle, you feel kind of wary about everybody. So what was it? What helped you get through it?
Honestly, my family and friends. I don't have the type of friends that'll egg me on. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, D, go handle that. Like, I have friends who was willing to do it for me. You know what I'm saying? Because this is how you know I was a good person through this whole situation. Because it could have been a whole beef between my neighborhood and their neighborhood. Like, yo, how you gonna? I'm a ball player. I grew up playing ball. Everybody knows me as playing ball. So when the dudes from my neighborhood who always looked out for us when there was like shootouts or stuff going on, yo, y'all go in the house, something's about to go down. You know what I'm saying? Those are the type of guys, you know, they were. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's, you know, not everybody, some people it's like forced into a gang and I don't know how to explain it, but long story short, like, it could have been a whole war between two neighborhoods. Until today, but I stopped that from happening. Because I didn't want to get my friends and go to jail for something that wasn't my fault, but something that involved me.
Yeah.
So I left that alone. Like, you know, I got friends over there too, the guys from that neighborhood, but I got a whole bunch of friends over there to the point where his people was like, D, we're gonna whoop his ass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was the older cast. You know, he was young. Yeah, right. So I could have, you know, there's a lot of things I could have done, and because
someone who's been shot, what would be your recommendations for somebody to start the healing process?
I mean, I think it depends, you know, for different people, it can be different things. And some folks are, I think, at a baseline, a lot less safe in their day-to-day life than other folks. Particularly for young kids, they might not have as much control over whether their family is experiencing domestic violence or there's some other issues that they're entangled in. I think safety is a fundamental aspect of healing. If you're not feeling safe, then it's very hard to heal. But I think a lot of people too, you know, Boston is a small city and there are incredible networks of resiliency and healing that are in every neighborhood. And for some folks, that is their church home or faith community. You know, for some folks, that's their neighborhood youth worker and the community organization. For some folks, that's their given and chosen family and their people that are holding them up around them. So I think it's different for different people. You know, therapy is difficult to come by. It's not as accessible as it should be. There aren't enough social workers and other mental health professionals that are available through MassHealth, which is one of the biggest insurers in Massachusetts and certainly of the population that is experiencing, you know, community-based violence. But there are different organizations that offer that clinical support, and I think finding a good clinician can be transformative. So I think it depends. But as much as victims and survivors can do to help themselves heal, I think the rest of us in the surrounding community have a lot of work to do ourselves to build better systems for healing and justice.
Like I said, my family, my friends, my daughter at the time, now I got a son now, I didn't want that to escalate. And then other people's gonna get hurt for his stupidity.
Yeah, and mutual friends too.
Mutual friends. I'm talking about a lot of mutual friends to the point where they gave me his name, his full name, and his address.
That's just crazy.
Like, I'm not gonna bring it to his house knowing he probably lives with his mother and this and that. That's a person between me and him. I mean, even though he tried to reach out to me and apologize and take me to dinner, that's crazy. I've never heard nobody, you shoot somebody by accident and then my neighborhood tells you what's up, what happened with that, and then now you like, yeah man, can we take you out to dinner? What does that look like for somebody who shot me going out to dinner? You know what I mean? I'm not the type, I don't condone violence, but at the time you gotta understand what I went through. You know what I'm saying? Like I told you before, like you can sit here and tell me, like, listen, I'm good, I'm over it.
But if I see you do, it's a different story.
Right, because you know, the whole mentally, you know what I mean? Like this is the dude who addicted to put my family through all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like I said, this whole situation could have escalated, and I stopped that from happening because I didn't want to see nobody in my neighborhood do something for some stupidity that one dude did, and knowing I got family over there, or not family, but friends that I grew up with. I actually went to high school with. There's about 3 or 4 of them I went to high school with that was from that neighborhood. You know what I mean? But I mean, like I said, I don't condone violence, but at the time, you got to understand what I went through. Even with your situation, when you told me, like your whole state of mind and your attitude changed about things.
Yeah.
The way you go out, the way you move now, like you know. Yeah.
Good doing it,
sir, man.
Good looks,
sir.
Oh,
was I, man?
Yeah.
You know, we just heard of a 16-year-old young man who was coming home from work maybe over a week ago, 2 weeks ago, who was gunned down. And such a tragedy, my heart goes out to our young men and our young women today because they're living in very dangerous and uncertain times. And I will offer a prayer to families who are suffering now from tragic and, you know, just natural causes. So I'll do that. Father, we come and just asking for your blessings upon families right now who are going through the tragic passing of a loved one. And God, nothing comes into our lives without first passing through your hands. And so you allowed it. We know that you're not the cause of these evil acts that sometimes take place or even death, but you allow it. And so I'm asking for your comfort, I'm asking for your help and your strength upon the families who are going through these difficult times. God, we know that you're able